never ever give your entire self away to any woman. I don't care if you call her your woman or if she calls you her man. Don't do it. When you love hard and you give the fullness of your heart and your soul and your mind and your emotions away to the woman, you're giving her power over you.
Morning there, beloved saints. Sorry I look so like in the morning. I do these usually before I put my face on, or sometimes I'll do them the night before when I've already taken my face off. So I want to make sure, I do this as I am inspired. So this gentleman tells you the key is to never give your heart to a woman. Don't give your all. And in some ways, he's saying don't trust people. Don't fully love people. Because in order to love someone, you have to trust them not to use your vulnerability and the information that they're receiving of you against you to cause harm. Well, that would tell me this person, one, has probably been really hurt. Two, but who hasn't? Two, is emotionally unable or emotionally immature in the sense that they believe it's better to be numb and not feel for someone, which is what a lot of people do, make themselves hard. And sadly, sometimes life on the streets will do that, usually gang members. How could they be so cruel? Well, they don't feel anything. They've hardened themselves to the suffering of others. They've hardened themselves against empathy. Because it's weakness. But it's the opposite. We recently saw Andrew Tate say that he left Christianity because Christians are weak. If you think, like Bishop Marmari, that was stabbed in the face, prayed for the man as he's being stabbed for God to save him. Not wishing harm on him, wishing for his forgiveness. If you think that's weakness, I got news for you. It takes so much more strength than most human beings possess. And that's the problem. It's not weakness. I'll tell you what's weakness. Not being willing to put yourself out there to feel the pain. Not being willing to feel the pain of another and endure it with them. We're to mourn with those who mourn. Rejoice with those who are rejoicing. We are the body of Christ. We are one. If one of you is in pain, we are all in pain. And we've lost that somewhere. So I wanted to tell you, this gentleman is telling you the opposite of what to do. Love is exactly what he's telling you not to do. Love is the decision to give your heart to someone or to give any vulnerable thing of you to another person, knowing they could destroy you, but trusting they won't. Now, and I'm talking about in relationships. So, a person has gained your trust to where I'm going to take a chance with this person and reveal more of my vulnerability to them. And as they receive that and they're trustworthy with that, I'm going to reveal more vulnerability to them. But if I show them some vulnerability and they abuse that, it will go no further. Now, that's different when it comes to like giving. If people are in need and they take and they won't hear the advice to fix it themselves, and they're hungry, I'll feed them again. And I'll keep feeding them. I'm not going to let them starve. But there will come a time that if I see that you're not doing anything to help yourself and you're just continuing to use, I'm going to feel it's actually hurting you. It's enabling you to remain in destructive behavior. And that if I'm not here, just like if my own kid did that, and that if I'm gone, how are you ever going to take care of yourself? You can't go around using people. So there is a time to say no. But in regards to loving people, heartache and heartbreak comes with the territory. Mothers out there, how many times a day do your children break your heart? They're not spitefully doing it. Sometimes they are. But most of the time not. They don't call. You know, if they've left the house, they don't call. They're at college and they're partying and they're having fun, or they're studying and working hard. And they want to be with friends. They don't care about mom. It hurts because you go to sleep thinking about them. You wake up thinking about them. You worry constantly. How many times you had your kid go hang out with friends when they're a teenager and just be out later than curfew? And your heart's pounding and you're worried to death. And they come in like it's nothing. Heart breaks, right? Do you stop loving that? Do you say, I'm not going to give my vulnerable self to you? You're a mother. You got no choice. If you're going to be a good mother and love that child, which is a sacred love that God gives a mother. Same thing with fathers. And it's very, very sad. And a lot of that bad behavior comes from not having one or the other in the house. You know, can you raise a child that is a decent kid? Sure. But are they missing out? Yeah. They're missing out when they don't have a mom and a dad. They are. My son's dad's gone. He's no longer of this earth. And I know he's missing out. And I get him to spend time with grandpa and with his uncle and with the pastor. But the thing is, what this person's telling you to do is basically don't love people. Okay? That's just really bad advice. First of all, you're going to get hurt anyway, no matter how much you try not to. And when you do that, you're going to also limit your amount of joy. Of course, you're going to get hurt. It's part of the human experience. Why? Because we're not God. We're not perfect. We're wishy-washy. We're flaky. We're flawed. We're selfish, self-centered sometimes. Sometimes we don't even mean it and it hurts people. You know, or we'll forget to call someone back and it's like, you know, it's not, they don't love you. It's just, they just got distracted. Like I made each day, forget it, man. I'm like already on to something else. I have to write notes and put things in my phone all the time. But when we love God, we can give him our vulnerability. And he'll never betray it. That was so amazing about God. But if you want a full life, you're going to have to be okay with not being okay. You're going to have to be okay with your heart hurting. And eventually, the love of God in Christ will help you love others, whether they love you or not. That's where we're trying to get. To have the mind of Christ. They don't love you. Actually, they despise you. Love them anyway. And as I said before, love is an action. What this gentleman's talking about is an exchange of like romantic relationship. You'll never connect in true intimacy with a husband or a wife unless you are vulnerable. And that's why it's so easy for people to cheat. Because they haven't invested truly emotionally and said, I don't care what happens, I'm going to stick with this person. I've made a commitment to God. Better or worse. Well, I just don't feel it. Tough. You'll get through this. It's not butterflies, the whole thing. I once met an old man, and he was being interviewed. What was it? he's like 90s or something. And he and his wife have been together something like 70 years. I think they were in their teens when they got married. And how do you do it? How do you stay together and love her? He goes, "Oh, I love her. I just love her. I wake up every day and I thank God and tell him I got the best gal in the world." What an amazing attitude of gratitude. Not her flaws and she leaves dishes in the sink and she nags. No, I got the best gal in the world. Can't we do that? Find the best in each other? Overlook the stuff that annoys us. Half the time, things that annoy us about other people are things that we do ourselves. That's why if you spot it, you got it. I always say, and it's true. So I just wanted to tell you, this is not the right attitude to have. Don't give your all to a woman. If you want to be married, if you want to have deep friendships, if you want to have good relationships that are intimate, you have to give of yourself and you have to be willing to be broken. You have to. Because if you're not put in a vulnerable situation emotionally, you won't reap the benefit, as well as never experience true intimacy. Love is giving them that vulnerability and knowing they could destroy you and break your heart, but trusting that they won't. And so what I was saying is you deal that. Wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Remember, if you're considering a friendship or an intimate relationship, or you're looking for a life partner or a husband or wife, you test these waters out and you have to be very wise about it. And it doesn't mean he has to be 6 foot, he has to look like this. No, I'm not talking about superficial stuff. I'm talking about value systems. Do they value your time? Are they constantly saying they're going to do something or be there and not show up? Are they, little things when they are consistent, when you reveal a vulnerability, how do they honor that? Do they abuse that? Or are they trustworthy with it? And I have this in my friendships, because I have one friend I really don't tell anything personal to, because this. And I normally don't have that around me, but there's extenuating circumstances. So I've learned it cannot be trusted. This person cannot be trusted with sensitive information. It will be told to other people. I will be judged. I will be talked about. And so, although I can be a good friend to them, I can hear them out, which is usually what's going on anyway, because there's going to be people, it's always about them. And I can do it, but I don't share any information. And I do try to limit my time with that. Sometimes it's a little harder, because when you give people what they want and need all the time, they tend to hang on and continue to take. So we'll talk about that another day, about emotional vampires. But I wanted to tell you, love, you will be vulnerable. And that's what love is. And so you got to be okay with having heartbreak, okay? But you will not have any joy in life without taking that risk. And it will happen. Everybody gets hurt. Don't let your bruises and your wounds and your scars prevent you from developing a relationship. That's not the purpose of heartache. That's part of sin, okay? That people hurt us. And so we've got to be different, a light to the world, not harden ourselves. We can be smart, right? Wise as serpents. Don't intentionally make yourself vulnerable to narcissistic people that will abuse you, use you, take you. You can't be trusted. And they'll just squish it and walk away like nothing happened. Don't be vulnerable with people like that. Be wise about it. But don't shut yourself off to the possibility, because growing in intimacy requires a great risk. but it has great reward. The one person you can trust to always have your best interest. Now, it might always not feel like it. Because remember, just like we tell our kids things they don't want to hear. You know, I have a friend that has a panic attack anytime they hear something they don't want to hear. Because it's true. And I am not the type of friend to just co-sign. I have gotten to the place where do you want solution, or do you just want to, if you want to stay like this, I'll just sit and listen. But most of the time they don't want solution. People don't like to hear what they don't like because they don't want to change. They don't want to fix it. They need to be victim. We see this all the time, guys. So be wise in the choices of who you're vulnerable with. All right? Now I'm talking about intimacy here. But, and I don't mean just in relationships of man and woman. I mean in friendships too. Nothing can break your heart like a best friend. Right? And it is true, past behavior is the most reasonable way to assume the future. But when it's distant past and they've worked on themselves, don't use that against people. So, but be aware, watch, give little at a time of your vulnerability and see how they handle that and if they're trustworthy with it. Then that can grow. But don't shut yourself down. This is a person that has either been hurt or is really emotionally immature. It is not strength to not feel empathy for people. It is strength to feel the pain with them. It's even more strength to feel it with them and to try to find solution to help heal it. So, God will never do anything that's not for our good. Now, it won't feel good in the moment all the time. He might tell us things about ourselves we don't want to hear. Right? But it's for our growth. He may allow situations and people that are very uncomfortable, but tribulation worketh patience. And we grow from there. Patience and long suffering, which is patience with people. Long suffering is putting up with people for a long time. Helping them get through it. Loving them where they are. God does that for us. He's wonderful. I'm only going to read one verse on this. Sorry it was a little long, but I wanted to go over this. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. The Lord is good to all. Does he only rain on the crops of just and good people? Of course not. He's good to all. And his tender mercies are over all his works. This is Psalms 145. We're going to pick that up either tomorrow or the next day. But I just wanted to tell you guys, it's okay to feel vulnerable. If you don't, you're not truly loving. And expect heartbreak, but also the reward is worth the risk. But with God, he's always good. You can always trust him. What an amazing thing. You know, so we have a friend in Jesus. You hear the song and people say that. It's true. He's trustworthy. He loves you. He does care. He's compassionate. He understands. He's lived as one of us. How amazing is it that we have a God that lived as one of us and experienced betrayal like that, yet was still able to love. And we are in him, and he is in us. And we should do the same. God bless you guys. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.